Holika. One. Quintessence of all in woman, best assigned to flame. Demoness, witch, sorceress to most, yet martyr, saint, and devotee to some. I return with spring as in the year before, to suffer amongst the living yet another immolation. See, how soon amidst the songs and sudden blooms of this season it grows into a cause for dance and merriment, the reenactment of my death. Observe how relieved they appear to be rid of me again, these pious throngs now laved by the febrile ritual of my passing, the annual fire purge before the morning's festivities. I return for reasons rarely known to the living, best kept from them till they are ready to receive them. For only the living can afford to question the ways of God. And it is not for the dead to wonder why we were chosen to play the parts we played. No longer my part to question this ecstatic survival of sons, this burning of women, or why my death each year must remain for so many a cause for joy, a great reason for song in the land I return to. 2. Legend at times has attempted to be kind to me, suggesting I succumbed to the flames of my own free will to keep the young prince from harm. This is not what happened, of course. I connived with the king for my own safety and out of fear of pain, and it was God, as always, God interfering, irrefutable, who sent the gust that blew the shawl from my shoulders, throwing my body to the fire, protecting the boy. I have no wish to be considered a saint, though there are those on earth who prefer to believe my tale a tale of sacrifice. There remains a place reserved for women like us in the realms of the dead, a place for burnt women who died so that the circle could be complete, hurt nature healed, a great balance restored. God, the human lion who clawed at my brother's guts and tore them apart, has in his mercy ensured us this, that our part in the tales of men, though invariably misremembered, may never be forgotten. Now, as the heart of the north grows light, surrendering itself to color, and the infinitesimal hues of hemp play out their games in the mind of man, recall our torched bones. All you who still breathe, revering fire, who dance and drench yourselves and lift your notes in jubilation at my death, keep at heart the black heap I was born to burn down to, as you spray one another with brief jets of vermilion. Revere the fire at the core of your dancing, your funeral pyre. Okay. Now, while we celebrate women's empowerment, let us not forget that overpowering women, like overpowering men, have been the cause of a lot of destruction in human history. Whether it's mothers controlling their sons or whatever, queens controlling their kingdoms. So this is a somewhat more abstract poem about that sort of relationship, which sees the sea as an overpowering maternal figure. It's about a tsunami, and It's a personification of the tsunami, of the tidal wave. Tidal wave. Believe me, I didn't mean to do this. I believed with the seers and ecstatics that the sea would bring me where I needed to arrive, that no amount of lunging shorewards or holding back could alter anything about to happen. I began as a tremor, a shudder in the brooding loins of the sea that set me moving to no visible end. Her sway seemed to hold all motion in place, and I dreamed of nothing that breathed beyond her skin, was granted no visions as she urged me on, spurring me out of her, yet tightening her grip, of the fields I would swamp, the children I would drown, the homes I would crush with soft claws of water. Nor could I tell, as those doomed coasts drew near, that in their ruin lay also my own, or the end at least of the only chance I thought I had of being truly born, of being anything more than an aspect of sea. Unspawned, I remain now as ghosts remain, a voice in the veins of those who survived me, that clings to a theme they long to forget. Yet hear me now, women of the coast, offspring of the dead, you whose progeny I snatched from your arms, whose crops I wrecked and whose cattle I killed. Hear me and see how softly I speak. No roar, no crash, no surging crescendo, no deafening cascade, no rapt interjections of spindrift and surf, and no more of that turgid, moon-depraved magniloquence that brought me briefly to believe myself a being apart from the sea that bore me. Friends of the departed, lovers of the drowned, hear me when I say I had no will in this matter. How are we doing for time? One more? Well, one more. One more. Well, I have it's a slightly long poem. It might just take 5 minutes, maybe a little less, but I think since we're dealing with women, themes connected with women, the BJP made this ridiculous statement some years ago about how ancient women in the Mahabharata were very virtuous because Kunti's son was born outside the womb and all that. And my poem about Kunti has a very, very physical aspect to her relationship with the sun god who practically rapes a 12-year-old girl. And how does it all happen? So it's a slightly long poem, but bear with me. The sun made flesh. Kunti reminisces. Orange had always been my favorite color. The earthy, unimportunate orange which the sun cast absent-mindedly before revealing himself. The mustard fields aglow with his unassuming light. It was partly because of this that I summoned him, partly because I wondered, as all children do, if it were light or the eye that made things visible. I thought the sun could tell me for certain, and believed he would come to me as I had imagined him, a being composed entirely of light, though gifted with speech. The sage had warned me when he taught me the strange words to be in no great hurry to use them, to choose a propitious time with care. Yet how could I have known, tutored as I was in neither love nor prophecy, that words alone, which had seemed so trifling till then, could wield such power, that mere words given to a child by an aging sage, as if they were only new toys to play with, could bring about such things, compelling a god to fulfill his lust against his own will. The sun made flesh, piercing my mortal loins with more than mere light. Was this the seer's idea of a joke? Or had he forgotten how curious a young girl could be about things he no longer cared for? Ever since that morning, I have been a lover of the dark, an incurable seeker of tenebrous spaces in which to brood, cold, penitential spaces where I could dare envision the son I abandoned amongst the riverside reeds, whom I never dared, while he lived, to call my own. My son, whom I left there, with no one to protect him, yet swaddled in an armor that was quite his own, his earrings glistening in the sun they came from. How often since that morning I have thought of the sun as someone worshipful, though terrible to behold, someone I could trust to look over our son, guiding him by subtle signs without fully revealing himself. And yet, in all these years, I have never dared to think of him simply as someone I had loved. Boldest as I have been before midnight, most cautious at noon, when my shadow curled into me and I trembled to think, pressing my secret even closer to my heart, that the light I shone by was not mine. History will have its way, making of this what it will, saying what it must, remembering in the most memorable of rhymes what I have longed to forget, speaking of me, perhaps, as a selfish woman, inexorably weak, though born of a heroic line. It is some comfort to think that my son, whose ends I always thwarted in life, has earned in death the fame he sought. Yet so much for posterity. It has never mattered to me so much as it did to him. My concern remains, as before, with the living, for I am still amongst them. Though I have little left to do now, having lived too long in fear of light, but play out my one heroic deed, which is one that no one will ever get to hear of. Today, I will not shirk the sun's brisk advances, but endure his terrible coming with pride, summoning him home once again into my eyes, as I did our firstborn a few weeks before he died. Now time, having done its worst, has little left to destroy. Night gives way unrelentingly to orange, and dawn comes gently over the mustard fields. Thank you.